Greetings, everyone. I hope you're having a good spring break and getting some rest. I thought I would do something fun. Back when I was a child in the lower elementary years, I think one of my favorite things about school was on Fridays. Fridays, there would be show and tell, and different kids would bring in different things and show them and talk about them. And I wanted to do that today for you all. I want to show you my den. This is a room near my bedroom, and this is where I keep a lot of treasures and just old things that I find curious and enjoyable. So I'm going to give you a quick tour of my den. This is just kind of a quick overview of the den. You can see this wall has a number of books and curious things. Moving across to the northern wall into the corner there and back over to that side. Well, let me tell you a little bit about this place. So let me start over on this wall. Let me actually start right here. That right there is a very old fossil. My father collects things, and he's given me things over the years. That's an old plant fossil. As you're moving across, that right there is a piece of the Berlin Wall. I've been to Berlin a few times, I guess about 5 times. And before the wall came down and then after, if you don't know what the wall is, back after World War II, the East and the West, the Western countries of Europe and the countries that were to the East divided Germany in half, and they built walls to protect from people leaving the East into the West. And this is a piece of that wall, which was in Berlin, Germany. That right there is a very curious thing. That came off of the top of a mountain in southern Idaho. The mountain is called Mount Bora. It's over 10,000 feet in elevation, very, very high, much higher than Mount Spokane. And that's a seashell right there. That's a fossil of a seashell. There's seashells all over the place on the top of that mountain, which means at some point in time, the world was flooded and all the way up covering those mountains there. Next, that's an old coin from the early Roman days. Another fossil right there. This is a fossil of a seashell. We still have these kind of shells today. The fascinating thing about this particular shell is it follows what's called the Fibonacci sequence, which is a series of numbers. It's a sequence of numbers that they find in nature that's very, very mathematical, and it puzzles people how things could be so mathematical in creation. You see these in flowers, you see it in these shells, etc., etc. All right, this is a very fun thing. I built this bridge a number of years ago with a class. The class was trying to enter a competition, a national competition, to build bridges according to certain specifications and to see how much the bridge could carry, how heavy a load could this bridge carry compared to its weight. So I built one as well, and that's a reminder of that. As I move up, a bunch of Bibles. I have lots of Bibles all over the place. Can't seem to get enough of those things. There is a very old music box from my grandmother, Eloise, who I have many fond memories of. This is a ship that I built with the second class I had when I started teaching. I had the kids all build a ship over the course of the year. This one is a simpler one than most of the kids did, very, very extravagant ones. But this one is a ship, a replica of a Nile boat from the time of Moses. This is the type of boat that would have floated up and down the Nile, carrying goods and passengers. So this would have dated back to about 5,000 years ago is when this boat would have been in play. This is fun. Old ice skates. I love old things. You'll see the pattern as we keep going, but I skate in these. When I go ice skating, these are what I break out. Very old set of ice skates. This right here is an old flag. It only has 48 stars. This is a flag of the United States of America before we added Alaska, which we purchased from the Russians, and Hawaii, which is out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And now we have 50 states. That's an old clay vase or pot that dates back to about 500 AD, Middle America. My father gave me that. This is an old cup that dates from the time of the colonial days in New England. It's made out of pewter. Up here is a replica that I made of the Ark of Noah. This is the specifications are what you get out of the Bible, so I made a small version of it, and that's what it would have looked like, or something like that. Over here is a very old painting. Nobody knows much about this painting because it isn't signed, and it appears that it was cut out of a larger, very large wood painting of some sort, and this seems to have been cut away from whatever was there in the first place. My father bought it years ago. This dates to the late 15th century, which would be the end of the 1400s. This is the time when Leonardo da Vinci was painting. Wouldn't that be neat if it was a Leonardo da Vinci painting? I don't think it probably is, but I always pretend, and that's okay. More books that I have here, all kinds of very fun books. One of them I'll just point out is this one right here. This one right here is called the Bradford History. It goes by another name, which is called Of Plymouth Plantation, and this was by a man named Bradford. He chronicled the story of the Mayflower coming over and setting up at Plymouth and all of the years thereafter. And the book that was originally his diary of the event, it had been taken by Great Britain when they attacked us in 1812. And so that the only copy of that book disappeared for nearly 100 years. And we appealed to the British government saying, we think they have a book that is very valuable to our history. They made a search, they found it. And that right there is the first printing of Plymouth Plantation or Bradford's history. So I have the first printing of that great book. I have other ones kind of like that are very fun, that have a great story to them. That right there is a etching by Rembrandt. But this right here is one of my pride and joys. This is an old record player. It's called a phonograph. And let me show you what it looks like inside. This was my grandmother, my great-grandmother actually, came over on a covered wagon, settled in Montana, and this was hers. She gave it to my grandfather, who then gave it to my father, and then my father gave it to me. Now, how this works is you take these little cylinder records right there, you put them on, and instead of being like a flat round record that you would see on a normal record player, these are discs, or cylinders, I should say. And amazingly, they figured out how to take a needle and have it scratch down on plastic that's going round and round and create sound. To this day, I think it's just a marvel that they were able to do this. This actually does work. So you crank this handle right there, and that's what gives it the power. I've already cranked it up, so I'm going to now turn it on. And you're going to listen to a story about a child who does something he shouldn't do.
When I was a boy, I always was a laugh, but I laughed at the wrong time. There was always something that would make me laugh. I could laugh most any time. So I laughed when Father hit his thumb with a hammer. He did a song and dance and commenced to yell and stammer. Then I laughed. But I laughed at the wrong time. I just had to laugh. If I didn't, I would bust. Father was swearing and kicking up the dust. Father said, son, you come along with me. I have a few words I want to say to thee. And I laughed as I went. But I laughed at the wrong time.
I won't tell you what happens next, but I'll give you a clue. If you laughed at your father when he'd hurt himself, he might not be very happy, and I don't think the child would stay very happy either. That's kind of how it ends, but I cut it off early on. This is an old desk. I love this old desk. This was my grandfather Ralph's. My dad put it in my room when I was younger. It was more of a hand-me-down kind of thing. It was covered with black paint. That's how it originally was made. And they call it black lacquer. It was very, very shiny. It kind of got beat up. When it was given to me by my father, my wife and I, when we got married, decided let's strip it down and see what it actually is underneath, because it needed to get refinished. And we found that, lo and behold, it was made out of black walnut, which is a type of wood that's pretty exotic. It's beautiful wood. And so we have that as our treasure. Got that old lamp at a thrift store, but to go with an old desk, you need a chair. I found this at a five and dime kind of store. It cost me $15. It just happened to be also out of black walnut, and just a beautiful, beautiful old chair. Speaking of chairs, I love chairs. Is this one here. This is where I tend to sit and read with my lamp. Grab a book off the shelf. I have, this is only a part of my library, a part of it at school, but most of my books, probably, 5 times what you're seeing here at least, is down in the basement. But these are some of the ones I like to see and touch and have and read more often. Over in the corner is a set of very, very old golf clubs. These come out of the 1930s, out of St. Andrews, Scotland. They were actually handmade right there at the old course of St. Andrews. I play these. They actually work quite well. It's not my main set, but occasionally I love to go out and pretend I'm playing golf the old way. Over here, I have some of my my favorite kind of books that I love to dig into. I've got the historical tales here and history of the Christian church, but up here are the ones that I've bound in leather. I love to make leather products, and so I rebind Bibles and things. So I did these as well. Those are Daubigny's History of the Reformation there. Chronicles of Narnia, Plutarch's Lives, the Punic War, which is the story of Carthage fighting Rome. And the main character in that story is Hannibal. You have Tacitus, Roman author. You have Herodotus, considered the founder or the father of history, at least writing history. Bede, Ecclesiastical History of England, the Golden Legend, etc. Some more Bibles. And then this is a fun little thing. It's actually a game. They discovered this board, or this type of board, in the pyramids. And this is a game that dates back maybe 5,000 years. It's very popular today in Germany. It goes by the name of Nine-Man Morris or Mill. It's a very strategic game, much like a chess. So if you're interested in playing a thought-provoking game, you need a partner to play it. There it is. Right here, this is the best thing in the room. This is when God showed his greatest favor to me. Besides giving me salvation, he gave me the most beautiful wife in the world. And that's her. Underneath that is an old Bible, as well as a very old dictionary. That dictionary dates back to the early 1800s. It's Webster's Pictorial Dictionary. I love opening that up. Next to that, I have maybe the best commentary on the Bible that's ever been written by Matthew Henry. I enjoy it very much. That red book there is by Alexis de Tocqueville, Democracy in America. He came over in the early 1800s to see what made America such a special place. And that right there is what he saw. And it's very enlightening to see how he sees America being so different than the rest of the world. Great book. This is a radio. It looks like an old radio, but it's not. It's a remake. I love listening to AM and FM radio, listening to old programs, etc. So I use that often. Over here, you come to at least a portion of my hat collection. Over the years, I've collected hats, and the only problem is I had no place to put the hats. So I came across this. Let me just remove the fedora for a moment. And you see it has all of these hooks and things. This came out of an old hotel in Montana, and I found it at a mercantile shop and bought it so I could hang my hats up and things like that. And then lastly, I want to show you is this right here. This stool was built by a master craftsman. It's actually my son-in-law, and he really is. He's an attorney, and he was trying to decide in his life if he was going to be an attorney and be able to provide for a family or build really cool wood things. Well, he decided to be an attorney, which is a smart move, but he also builds very, very beautiful furniture, and he gave this to me for Christmas a couple years ago. So another treasure. So as you can see, I have lots of chairs that I like and stools and books and golf clubs and again the old phonograph and some pictures and some unique artifacts on the wall, etc. I can't go over all of the unique stories to all this stuff, but I thought I would just give you a little taste of what is here, and this is where I enjoy spending late hours in the evening or early hours in the morning, sitting here reading or listening or looking at things. Anyway, I hope you have a good rest of spring break, and I thank you for bearing with my little show and tell. Have a great day.